Welcome to Adventure Cannonball Podcast. My name is Taylor Lawson, and I am your host. And today we are humbled to have Robert Baldinger here in the studio in Stockholm with us. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my first time doing it in a professional studio like this, so it's a cool experience to be here to start with.
Yeah, I'm sort of starstruck coming into a studio like this.
That you're like a technophile. You're probably going, well, I'm going to have to get that now.
Yeah, I already noticed the version of the microphone here, so it's better than what I have.
Yeah, fair enough. Before we jump into motorcycle talk, I want to talk about you're not just like a one hobby guy. I want to talk about something that people may not know as literally translated, strike with foot, strike with hand, and the way of. And what is that? What is that sport?
That's Taekwondo. That's I've been doing that since 1986 with a long pause in between, kids and life and everything. But then I picked it up again when I realized I had to be flexible enough to swing my legs over a big luggage over the bike. So the Taekwondo helps doing that.
Yeah. So we tried to get together previously and you were like, I've got a class that I'm teaching right now. So you're teaching kids. You're also known as an instructor.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I have classes 3 times a week.
Wow.
I've been doing that. And it's sort of my base exercise or whatever. You have to do something. I'm over 50 now, and I realized that martial arts is the best way, at least for me, to keep fit enough and flexible and balance and core and everything to be able to do the other things in life that I enjoy.
Yeah, and maintaining your body, especially over 50. I'm 57 now. And I find that, things don't work like they used to.
No. They say.
so they say, exactly. So let me just first of all, I think it's really cool that you give back to the community. When I was in Washington D.C., where I was born, at the age of 7, before we had moved to Annapolis, Maryland, I took I think it was Jun-Ri. It was like the big karate place in DC.
Oh, okay.
Some like the mega center, hundreds of people in there, and I was 7, so it maybe seemed like 100 people in there. But I remember the instructor stood me in front of him and he said, "I'm going to teach you a very important lesson." And I said, "What's that?" And he stood me right there. He squared me up and he goes, "Pop!" And he hit me in the chest. And and after I caught my breath, he said, "Here's the lesson. The best way to avoid a punch is not to be there."
Oh, yeah.
I was like, "Oh, remember that lesson, Sensei?"
All right. That's Cobra Kai style.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no fear in this dojo.
There's no fear in this dojo, exactly, except fear the instructor.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's shift gears away from that and then talk a bit about motorcycling. So this weekend, we chatted again about coming into the studio. You were locked and loaded. You had your AJP all set up and ready to go with your bags. How was that trip? What was that about?
We named it ADV Hangout, as we have all these events around the world. But in Sweden we have, and you pay and you sort of become a customer or a participant at an event where everything is handed to you with the lectures or whatever and food and everything. So we thought that there's a lot of people starting adventure riding and everything today, and let's do something just like a big hangout where we have a lot of experienced people we have the newcomers coming in, but it's all exactly how it would be if you were out riding, setting up camp, cooking your meals, but we all do it together and then sort of have panel discussions on all the different topics. Not one presenter, but we're all in a big group sharing experiences and then you learn it's not just one way to do things, but this guy has one way to do it and all the different personalities. So that turned out to be a real hangout. It turned out to be a hangover at the end, but
sometimes these events go that way.
Yeah. So it was really a great style of doing things that we look forward to do again. And it's some of the organizers, it's us, the YouTubers like Mattias, Thomas Hansen, Runa Grydeland, the Nordic people there, but then also Moscow Moto and AJP people and so on. But it's not a commercial thing. They are really into this also just to spread it and share knowledge. So it's not that much about selling stuff. It's
about using it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We don't just sell things. You can actually get out there and use the equipment as
exactly.
well. Yeah. Nice. Sounds like a good event.
Yeah,
I'll
it was
make sure
great.
I attend the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And also a different thing that made it a bit like Fight Club is that we didn't have a site. We didn't have any advertising. We just went out and, okay, you invite the people that you have in your network. So it was invitation only. And now that you know me, I can invite you for the next time.
All right, good. I won't have to try to find out, stalk you guys. It's like the Cannonball Rally used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cannonball Rally. It is Adventure Cannonball Podcast.
Yeah.
So the Cannonball Rally actually used to be that they would send out. This is pre-text. It's like Burt Reynolds, Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
And so you put your money in at the start, and then whoever ends up in at the destination gets the pool or a large portion thereof. So it was a straight up illegal road race. Which is why they've stopped that, and now it's more of a rally event.
Yeah.
So anyway, the event used to be that they would, in terms of who came to it, they wouldn't put the information out. And they wouldn't broadcast it because the police would just wait there at the end of the first block and pull everybody over. So in this case, it was about who you knew, and they were like, okay, the starting event is at this place, go.
Yeah, that makes it all more exciting. And Fight Club.
Fight Club.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
We don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number 2, don't talk about Fight Club. All right. So one of the things that, the way I came to know you, and I think the way that most people know you, is through Nomad Sweden, which was this YouTube channel that started with a group of riders, as you describe it, and so much what you talk about is very open. You're just very, you share everything. It's like you're holding nothing back, which is one of the appeals and what makes you, I think, very relatable, and people, and it makes people go, that's a normal guy. I could be that guy, and he's doing normal things.
You actually pinpointed what is sort of my idea with the whole YouTube thing, is that you watch Pultares and Adam Riemann and all these gods out there. Yeah. But my sort of niche is what you said. I could be that guy. Yeah. So I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary or extreme. It's and I'm in the beginning of my journey still. I started late and so on, and the people who's getting into the adventure riding, they sort of can identify me. It's not that far. I'm not that far ahead from them, and I can share what I've learned so far, and so gets me closer to them, I guess.
Yeah. I'll get into a few questions about how your new content has been able to change. Whenever we start an interview or a chat, what we on this podcast, something that Aaron and I have been doing for a long time, is we say, "What was your first motorcycle?" Before you answer, because you are so open with your content, tell me if I'm off track here. But about 6 years ago, you started riding with a group of friends. You bought a BMW GS 1200.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
I'm wrong. Again. I'm so used to hearing that.
Yeah. Christmas 1999. Okay. I got Christmas gift from my wife. Not something interesting, just a small rectangular packet, and I opened it, and it was a book, and it was the theory for motorcycle license.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's this? Yeah, we're getting a motorcycle license. So this is all her fault.
So it was her idea.
Yeah, she got it. I had no idea. Wow. We never talked about it or anything. So we did that together, got the license together, and we got a motorcycle together, a Honda Shadow 750
50. Nice.
Back in 2000 when we got the license. But we rode it together. Then we got the kids and everything. So I rode it back and forth, just commuting to work. And I realized that motorcycling is really nothing for me. I didn't really find the enjoyment of it. Just riding on this Honda Shadow, it was nice, of course, but then I sold it and got on with life for 17 years, and that's when you know the story.
Then it picked up, because then you had the channel, then you started really sharing about those things.
Yeah, and just as unexpected as the Christmas gift, I just went to a pool party with my friends. And there was one of my best buddies, and he had got a GS 1200. And haven't you seen the long way around, which is the start for so many?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've never been on a trip, but we're going all these different crazy places. And he just happened to have an extra GS 1250 because of some reason, with his wife's bike being at the workshop or whatever, a loaner, it was too big for her. So for a month or two, there was an extra GS.
Nice problem to have.
And that's why I tell my kids, get your license now. You don't have to get a bike, but when you're at the pool party or whatever, because then you get the question, do you want to go riding with us on that bike? I have the license.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't ridden for 17 years, but it came back quickly. And I really never came back from that ride. I'm still there.
Okay, very cool. So if we come forward to maybe say 6 years ago, when you started Nomad Sweden, that's when you got the GS. And then as you progressed, you spent more time going more and more off-road. So then you went to the Tenere 700. I have to take a moment here and say, thank you for the inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, in the podcast here with me, Aaron was like, I think a T7 might be the thing for you. Go check out this podcast. And of course, that was Nomad Sweden.
Yeah.
So I do have a T7, and thanks to you. You've sold one more machine.
Yeah, many people thank me about that. Yamaha never did, but
there's still time.
Yeah, so the T7, as you mentioned, I had the GS first, and we started riding as a group. I I started making videos for everything just out of interest. But so when I started riding with my buddies, which became Nomad Sweden, it was natural to new thing to make videos about, things like that. And we started the channel. But it was when I got the T7, because it came early to Europe. And I was among the first ones in Sweden, because I just bought it from...
You had never ridden it.
From the pictures. Here's my money.
Go.
Yeah. And the US didn't have it for another year at least. And same with Australia. So when I started posting T7 material, there was a lot of interest, and the channel took off, and I got the start of the audience there.
Yeah, and that obviously went well.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is interesting in your videos and in watching your content, so you obviously went to more off-road, you went to the T7, then you went to the AGP recently. So usually somewhere in your man cave, there's a scrambler.
Yeah.
You never talk about the scrambler.
No, it's we have a private relationship. Yeah.
I want to take a page out of the Ted Simon personification book, where he personifies motorcycles.
Yeah.
So I think that if your motorcycles were talking after you turn the lights out and you walk away, you've got the T7, the AGP, and you have the scrambler, and I can see the scrambler saying something like, Robert never takes me to events. Robert rarely buys me jewelry and talks about it to all of his friends on video. And the other day, when he was talking about tires, he actually took a camera and put it right up my tailpipe. And I have to say, from that perspective, that makes my back tire look very big.
Yeah, you nailed it.
So what is that bike? That's a...
Actually, when my oldest kid wanted to get a license, I got a cheap bike just to train on. It's in Europe it's the A2 size. You cannot go with a heavy, powerful bike, so that fit the bill. It didn't cost me much, and it's a 1982. So in Sweden, that means no tax, no inspections, nothing. I pay 50 euros or dollars for it per year in insurance.
In taxes,
So when he got his own bike, I thought, should I sell this now? It cost me nothing,
keep it.
and it turned out to be the most used old bike to rebuild and make cafe racers and scramblers from. So I thought, now I have this nice garage, I have a lot of time over winter, so let's keep it in and make something and learn. I'm learning. I've never had a moped or anything. I started tinkering with my bikes with the T7. That's a bit with the GS, but so it's a learning experience and turned out nice.
I'd say, you mentioned cafe racer. Do you know where the term came from, cafe racer?
They did some races between the cafes, right? And who's gonna get there first? And they needed to lower the weights to be faster and take things off. Or
they did. Yeah. So Aaron was recently he did his sort of the European tour, and he went to the Ace Cafe, and he met with Sam Manicum, and Sam, and he interviewed the manager for Ace Cafe, and he said that it used to be that the guys would find the longest song, put a quarter in the jukebox, run outside, get on their bikes, and ride around the block and try to get back and park their machines before the song had stopped. And that's where the term cafe racer came from.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah, probably. I think maybe you shouldn't.
No. But actually, she's getting some love and attention soon because I found some off-road tires for it. Not enduro style, but trial tires are in the same dimensions and nice. So I'll make a vintage Trans-Euro Trail trip is in my plans.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we'll cover that when at the end. I want to talk to you about what's next.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So so why did you decide to branch off of Nomad Sweden to create your own YouTube channel, and how has this enabled you to shape the content differently?
Oh yeah. So the group Nomad Sweden, it was a group, although I was the one making videos from it. That was my interest, and I created the channel around us and everything, but we were still a group, even though I was the person making the videos. So we had this non-profit organization where we all four were linked and got into the perfect circle of we make a trip, which becomes a video that will finance the next trip, and going on like that. And then just like any group, we start to evolve and want to do different things. So when the group sort of deteriorates, we don't do the trips anymore or anything. We need to do something, and now there's money involved and everything like that. So it was easiest in the end to just branch off, keep Nomad as it is, as long as it generates some income to the group, and I start my own track and channel there. So, and that enables me to do a bit more what I want. I could start my own little small company to be able to invoice companies and stuff like that for sponsorships and stuff. So it hasn't really been a big shift in what I do, because I always recorded whatever I wanted to, and that's pretty much the same. But the feeling is a bit, let's do this on another level now. Yeah,
good. Yeah. Interesting fact for our listeners. So in 5 months, your new YouTube channel has fully 1/3 the number of subscribers that your previous channel gained over 6 years. So that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I was amazed. And the big bulk were the hardcore followers from Nomad Sweden, because I did post a thank you video on Nomad Sweden when I decided to. There's not going to be any more content here. If you want to keep follow me, then come with me to this channel. And first 10,000 joined in a week, and
I
so
was
on.
one of those.
Oh yeah, that's good. And so because over time on a channel where, such as Nomad Sweden, where we do all these trips and so on, we get a lot of followers just enjoying one of the trip videos. But then I start changing clutches and have other videos and so on. So the followers that followed me to my new channel are those that really they're into adventure riding and want to see everything that I do. Mm-hmm. So the community interaction is just as big now as it was with the larger channel, because the active people are on my channel now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's enabled you to sort of cull off those who are truly interested in more of the new topics.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I really find enjoyable about the new content is that it really appeals to the beginner rider. And you're sort of with open arms saying, this isn't a big mystery, guys. Here's how we're doing this, and you really show the secrets behind it. A question about that. So much of what you present in a very pedagogic way. You explain things in great detail. Probably makes you a really good instructor, for martial arts as well. Were you always really has the tech side of things and the great deal of that always been an interest to you, or has the channel made you need to understand things in a greater detail to explain it?
I am a tech geek from childhood. I always been interested in computers and stuff like that, and details, but most of all, I've always been an instructor. I love to teach. And one of the things is that the best way to learn something, because I have so much still to learn about everything, and the best way to learn is to teach, because then you know sort of the general principle of what you want to do, but to teach someone, you really have to structure it and get the small details of stuff. So before I make a video, I have to go through all that, and when I can make the video, that's a learning process for me also. So and many of the things that I teach on my channel, like watch me changing the clutch plates of the T7 or change the drive kit, the video is the first time I'm doing it.
Okay, so that's good. Yeah, because you don't want to tear that apart a second time and go, I got it.
So I'll do this for the first time, and I research how to do it and everything, and then I sort of have the material to, okay, let's just film when I'm doing it. Yeah,
you can always go, that was really bad. But at the same time, I remember watching a movie, and they were putting a tent up.
Yeah.
And it was actually a movie. That's not important. But they were putting a tent up and it failed. They were trying to do a kid show, and the tent, they couldn't make it happen. And then the guy was like, "No, we should roll that. We should show kids that."
Yeah.
And they was like, "Well, why? It was a total disaster." He's like, "Because kids need to know that you can't always be successful every time."
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson.
Exactly.
When it comes to your approach for creating authentic and engaging content, what role does your personal story play in connecting with viewers?
I think, as mentioned, I love teaching since long before. From Taekwondo, I took the flight license, private. Small Cessnas and things like that. And I immediately ended up in ground school, teaching the next batch of pilots. And at work, I teach our customers use the software. And so it's just natural to do the same on went with motorcycles and everything around adventure riding. So I think that's just part of me in a way. And being over, I guess it starts when you're over 40. The shame, sort of being embarrassed, that disappears year for year. And now I have no problem just talking to the camera and whatever.
You're like, I'm wrong. I made a mistake.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
Who
not,
cares?
Yeah, let's just carry on. It's just human. I'm just
Yeah.
a human here. Yeah. I wanted to say you're talking about content and content creation. So you recently came back from your trip named Texas. You titled that 100 is a 1 hour 35-minute film, which was great. And you had, as you said, you had terabytes of data to edit when you came back. So to your process, do you have any rules of thumb or guidelines when deciding what to include and what to leave on the cutting room floor? What are some rules you have around that?
From experience, the first long trip that we did series, because that's what the big YouTubers do, like Itchy Boots and stuff like that. But they are living on the road, and they have people following them episode from episode and things like that. So when we did our first trip, that was up north in Sweden and then down to Balkans in Southern Europe and stuff like that, we started with episodes, showing a lot. So the percentage of the filmed material that ends up in the actual video is quite large, because you want to have many episodes and stuff like that. And the results, the views were like 10, 15, 20,000 views for one episode, and then dropping. And then I was at the same time watching another YouTuber who did the same thing, but then suddenly his channel exploded. And what did he do? What
was different?
So he was on Iceland and posting these episodes, and he had the same numbers of viewers as me. And then he had like hundreds of thousands of views on one video, and that was his Iceland trip, but just compressed into a long format video over an hour. So let's try that. And so I tried that, and just keeping the momentum and the pace up, and always something happening and so on, because you have all this material compressing it. And that video is now 2.5 million views. So
that the one from the previous that you mentioned.
Yeah, okay. The recut of the series into that format. So and we did that again with the Turkey trip. Almost 2 hours of video in one just long film. Also 2.5 million views now. So and that's, I guess, with the algorithm and everything, but because YouTube sees that, they are watching a long time here, and even 30 minutes of a 2-hour movie is huge for them. So that might be part of it. And also I noticed that the devices that they watch YouTube on now, is at least on my channel, is 60% on television on the big screens.
Okay.
Which means they want to sit back in the sofa if they're engaged in something that, they could watch a movie. They're 2 hours long now. So so that's now I do long format first because of that. So, and then in general, I guess, because in the editing software I can see here's all your material, and this many percent is on your timeline of the movie, and it's usually around 10% of the recorded
of the full length. You're taking up 10% of it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting you talk about the length of things being there being an attraction to that. A lot of the feedback that we get from the podcast is that people they say, the longer the better, because I want to go do something, and I want to be able to cut the lawn, or I want to be able to engage in some activity and listen the whole time. I don't want to have to stop, take my glove off, change it, go to the next episode.
Yeah.
I want it to just happen for me so I can see that. I have to say that I'm one of those people who just puts it up on the big screen and is like, I just want to hang out and watch this.
Yeah, exactly. And if you make, and sometimes, of course, some things I do is 15-minute format video, and you have to be, that's a different audience, or they watch it sort of on a phone or whatever, and you have to really be the classic YouTuber. Hey, today we're going to look at this and and yeah. So I really like to have something, a long format, and I can just don't care about being a YouTuber, just making a film or.
Yeah. So speaking about your film, I'd like to ask you. So it was titled 2,500 Miles of Culture Shock and Motorcycle Adventure in Texas.
Yeah.
So here's my question. What was the most shocking thing that you experienced when you were there as a Swede going into Texas?
Yeah. I've never really been to the US, first of all. So coming into, I've been there 2 times for sporting events and just flying there and back, but this was really on the ground. But the first shock, I guess, was just in the kitchen drawers and everything at Dave's home, just guns everywhere. There's a hollow point and a full mantle thing there, and why do you have 2 different? Yeah, this is if you want to shoot inside the house.
This is for outside.
It doesn't go through the walls, but this does, and yeah, so that's a shock. And are we bringing the guns, riding the bikes on the trip? Yeah, of course. Doesn't everyone?
But of course. It's really funny you mentioned that, because so I asked the question because having lived in Sweden for 12 years, I know that, let's say I'm at a dinner party and I spent the majority of my life in America, and I've been in Sweden for 12 years now. This month makes 12 years. And if I'm ever at a dinner party and, it's getting a bit boring, or I'm just flat out not getting enough attention, then I can mention things like, I used to carry a gun for work, and I wasn't in law enforcement. And then you see the eyebrows start dancing. So,
yeah, that's a good icebreaker.
So I thought that when you saw that, I was like, oh, you navigated that brilliantly. You're like, yeah, some things you packed before the trip, Maui Jim sunglasses, 9mm.
Yeah,
and I thought it was great. I was like, I thought that was what you'd be coming forth with as your answer.
But also interesting, the sort of, there's nothing special in Texas about having a gun.
No.
And that's also something you notice. You have a gun, and people around you probably have too. And it's like having your mobile phone in the pocket.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting. But also, Southern hospitality is a real thing. I was amazed with how we were received, and they weren't treating us special in any way, but it's just the way people approach you, and so that was really nice. And also the way how we got the bikes, an example there. Because we were looking for sponsors and everything to help us with sorting bikes for the trip and everything. Then I just went into Facebook adventure group there for the place that we were staying, and I wrote about our problem. We need to find bikes somewhere. Any hints where we can rent or whatever? They just said, take mine.
Yeah, we'll just drop it off.
Yeah.
I know that Aaron as well. Aaron has the 2023 Triple Black GSA 1250. He's like, I'll just bring it down from Seattle and drop it off. But you got it sorted, so he didn't need to come down.
Yeah. So, that was mind-blowing, actually.
Yeah, it is. Southern hospitality is a thing.
Yeah.
I lived in to say it properly, Houston.
Yeah.
For 13 months, and then in Dallas for 13 months when I was in my 20s. And Yeah, it was an interesting experience having come from the East Coast of the United States to that part of the world.
Yeah.
There's a huge sense of community and family there. It's quite
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
And especially since as a Swede, we're quite culturally further away from, I mean, Texas and Sweden, that's night and day in what you, so you would expect that it would be a collision there. And I guess it is, but it was never a problem. But we promised ourselves before the trip, we never talk politics or religion.
Yeah, keep those two out of it, and you'll be
Yeah.
safe. So we don't discuss any of that on
No.
the podcast ever. We
No.
don't touch any of those. So again, as I said, I've been in Sweden now for 12 years, and there's a large focus on balance in Sweden. That's amongst the political parties. It's more equality between the sexes, and there is work-life balance in general. So my question to you is about balance. So as a content creator, how do you balance the demands of filming, editing, writing, while keeping the experience of being out in doing your adventure writing? How do you keep that enjoyable with that balance in mind?
Everything, there are two sides to it. One is when you're on the trip, and that's when you're only recording. And I don't take as much, I don't let it, let's say, I don't do that much to get the content, the video, the raw material. I send up a drone once in a while. And just having a camera filming around me what's happening comes quite natural. But I don't have the tripod with the big camera set up, and now we walk in this door, and I don't plan anything really there. So when writing, it doesn't really affect my adventure or experience like that. Then it's a different thing coming home with a terabyte of video material that needs to be turned into a video. And some people I have these content creator friends, and I have my hard drive now is full for the full year of writing that I haven't done anything to. I cannot wait a day before I arrive inside the door. And the first thing before I get my clothes off or anything, start downloading the SD cards to hard drive and let it work there for a while. And so I can take my clothes off and then start there. And then I go into the zone because I get a bit manic about until the movie or production is finished. I cannot really concentrate on anything else because there are always ideas. Should I do this? Should I do that? And da. So I have a 2-3 week period where I edit the video.
Right in.
Yeah. So, and I have a lot of time. Since kids moved out, we work 6-hour days, very Swedish.
Nice.
Yeah. And so on. So I have a lot of time on my hands, and I'm married with a perfect wife.
Come on, you've already set that up when you said she got you the motorcycle book.
Yeah,
so you really needn't say anything else about that.
Yeah. So the biggest sort of where I feel I need the balance is when I get home and start editing, because then there's no balance.
You're straight in. You're full on geek mode at that point in time.
Because I enjoy it so much, and time just flies. That's a part with making videos like this. Some people want to do it, but they don't really appreciate the editing. You should love editing to do things like that, because then you have both the trip, and on my way home, I can't wait till I can get back to computer and start making the movie from it.
Yeah.
So you have twice the fun. But if that's a burden to you, I guess it's not for you.
No, it's not your thing. When we started this podcast, Aaron does all the editing on this.
Yeah.
And, we were newbies, everybody starts someplace.
Yeah.
And now we're at season 3. And the quality in terms of what Aaron has learned about this is, he's like, this is what this looks like, and this staccato, and this happens. And
Oh yeah.
so he's learned so much, and he's like, and I learned this new trick in the software where you can push a button and all the space between the sentences goes away. But he's done an amazing job. But I can totally recognize that the editing part, that it requires you really need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And Aaron's very techie as well, so I can see that's right up his straza.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Keeping with the same theme of balance.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate the challenge of maintaining your authenticity and your integrity as a person while also meeting the expectations of manufacturers who may provide gear for review, hoping for a positive review? And are there strategies or principles that you follow to ensure transparency and trust with your viewers?
Yeah, that is actually something that I've put some thought into, and I try to navigate that, and I'm also making new promises to myself, because I also feel that starting out with adventure riding, you need to get any bike and strap your gear on that bike somehow, and be somewhat safe with your riding gear, of course. And then I'm there teaching them to start doing the adventure riding, and I have all the most expensive stuff that are in many cases given to me and so on. So I don't want to persuade that this is what you need to get started. So that's a tough balance. So because they watch me having this or that helmet or pants and the dedicated adventure gear is quite expensive. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's a tough job making good garments and stuff for adventure riding. So I guess it needs to be a bit pricey, but you don't need it to get started. You can, over the years,
build it.
But I didn't start with expensive stuff. As mentioned, you need to be protected, so get a good helmet and some protection for your body, and the rest is just do some innovations and strap things to your bike, and that's a good way to learn also. This not working and this is, and so there's a balance, absolutely. There.
The one of the things I think is interesting is I'm reflecting back to some of the content that you provided in your previous channel, and that was about adventure riding on a budget, or something that had to do with budget, and it really talked about sort of threading the needle between, where should you spend your money, and as you commented, like, this is the most important thing. You've got to make sure it's like when I first bought my first helmet, when I bought my first bike in the States, it was a DR250.
Yeah.
And I'm there, I've got, I'm looking at this whole wall of helmets. And I said to the guy, where should I start? He's like, well, son, how much do you think your head's worth?
Yeah.
And I went, well, that's good. It's a really good question. I was like, well, my head can afford that one.
Yeah.
It was like middle of the range. I fell.
Yeah, that's a good sales pitch to start off with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's it worth? Is it worth protecting what's in there? Well, my parents may not think so, but, but I have a different perspective on that.
Yeah. So, and that budget video was actually my own conscience. I need to make something about starting on the budget and not go straight for the expensive stuff.
The most expensive gear. I also noticed you did a nice one where you, like, the two top brands were looking at Adventure Spec and Moscow Moto.
Yeah.
And you were like, which is? And I thought that was really balanced in there, because you didn't show your hand. You presented the pros and cons to both pieces of equipment, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, because and that came out really clear at the ADV Hangout, that the event that we spoke of, because it's easy to be a YouTuber and have the only voice on your own channel saying this is what you should choose and this or that. And it came so clear that a lot of the experienced guys at this event having the discussions, they all had different priorities, and I think that needs to come out also, that every piece, since ADV is all about compromises. You ride a bike that is not good, the best for tarmac and not the best for off-road, and you need to wear clothes that need to do everything that cannot be perfect for all occasions. So there's always compromises. So most gear out there is really good, but there are different compromises that suits you or not.
Yeah, it's always a balance, as you say,
Yeah.
and it's important to make sure that. I think one of the most important things I think that you put forth that's a good message is that, as you say, it's a compromise. I mean, the whole sport in itself, as you say, is a compromise between road riding and off-road riding.
Yeah,
and it's you're trying to thread the needle there. So I think that it's a good comment about how you have to make the balance.
yeah, absolutely.
So one of the common threads that we often hear when we speak with people who are traveling by motorcycle is that they have a different level of access into society than you would if you were taking another mode of transportation. Can you share a little bit about that, or share some experiences of how that a motorcycle has brought you closer to the society that you're traveling in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is one of the big reasons why I love adventure riding. Setting off on a longer trip, preferably into some other country or something. And when you're, let's say you do the same trip, you go somewhere rural in the backyard of some place, and you arrive in a car, and you arrive on a motorcycle. The car is, if it's from a different country, since you're coming from there, you're a tourist. But on a bike, you're more received as a traveler in a way. And it's people are more prone to reach out and talk to you, and also it's motorcycles are also prone to small problems.
They are.
Yeah. And that's great. You want those small problems to happen, because my most memorable moments from all the trips is when something happened. We may have a flat and we can sort it out, but people join in and they come and suggest stuff, and they help you out. And so I have friends now that we met from a wheel bearing
I saw
thing
that.
there. We ended up in a workshop in Prague in Czechia, and we're still friends. Just traveling on a motorcycle, what you experience, the smells, the views instead of from inside an aquarium as a car is, and the people you meet is that the interactions is completely different. Also traveling in poorer countries, like we went way out east in Turkey, we rode in Tanzania and everything. If you arrive in a fancy car, you're on a completely different level from them. So there's a sort of class difference or whatever. But in those countries, everyone rides bikes. And when you arrive on a bike, you're sort of on the same level as them. Yeah.
Even though the machine you're on and you just arrived on may cost what they earn in the course of 10 years or a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that seems to not matter. No.
Yeah, it's as you say, you become part of the society. Is sort of they're like, oh, here you are.
Yeah.
And one of the, again, a common theme, if you think about Ted Simon, he begins his book, he begins Jupiter Travels, where he talks about, and there I was, sitting under a tree in India where I've just run out of fuel. And he's like, and that was, and even Elspeth Beard, when I was just recently at Skoog, and she said this when I interviewed her, and she said the common theme throughout is that when things don't go as planned, or the motorcycle breaks down, as prone to problems, that's when the unplanned adventure truly begins.
Yeah. So I made a speech in Latvia, actually, a presentation, and talking about insurance. but not the type of insurance that you pay in advance and you get financial coverage, but you need that guy in your group that everything happens to, because you want things to happen, small problems, just bring that guy that it all happens to. So it doesn't happen to you, but you get the unplanned adventure and everything. And I have that guy in my group.
You have that guy.
Yeah.
That reminds me when I was in my, I guess, 30s, and I was working. I had to become a dive instructor or a dive master at least to take over a charter boat that I was about to run. And so I was working on Chris Sawyer's dive operation out of St. Thomas, and to get my certificates from just a basic diver. And we used to say that we do this big dive and, this big plan. So we're leaving. It's about an hour and a half trip from east end of St. Thomas into the British Virgin Islands, where we're going to do the wreck of the Rhone. And we'd sit around on the boat, and we're setting up dive belts, and we're doing the dive plan, the dive profile. And we look around, and there's a bunch of guys with knives strapped to their legs. These are guys who are like sitting, they're like, stock market traders during the day. But now they've got a big knife on their leg, and we go, okay, so who's got a knife? They go, okay, you should pair up with someone who doesn't have a knife. And they go, if we see some sharks, remember, you don't have to, first of all, you take the knife out, and you don't have to outswim the shark. You take that knife, and you stick it in your dive buddy's leg. You just have to outswim them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the plan.
That's the guy you've got in your group.
Absolutely.
I don't recommend that, though.
No.
So let's talk about what's next for you.
I do like to have also my calendar a bit unplanned, but I'm going into a period now where July and August is a bit sacred. I keep that completely unplanned so that I can do what I like to do. Is just get on the bike. I have a time frame, point the bike in a direction and just go around. So that's unplanned. But I do have a schedule because of sort of the YouTube fame thing. Yeah, I'm going to Tenerife Travel Trophy, which is coming to town in 2 weeks.
Okay,
mid-June. So I'll just be part of that while they are in Sweden. They start in Denmark and then go through Sweden and up to...
Is it a rally event?
It's sort of a rally in a way, no competition or anything, but there's about 150 bikes and they go on these pre-set routes, and it's quite a high-profile event where Yamaha is part of it. So they build this up this little Tenerife town at every sort of end of each stage and everything. So I'll receive them in Gothenburg when they arrive there, and I will sort of be their chaperone through Sweden and hand them off to the Norwegians once they have left Sweden securely. So that's that. Okay. And then we have ABR Festival, first time for me also. I'm going to Romania with a bunch of friends, YouTuber friends, so that will be some stuff. And what I'm most excited about is end of October, taking the AJP and ride the world's largest enduro race in Sweden, the Gotland Grand National.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, so completely new experience for me. I'm never rode enduro bikes, but I can check that off my list, and I get some cool number stickers on my bike.
Little livery for that.
Yeah.
Good. Where can, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you? What are your socials? Where can they catch you?
Yeah, mainly on YouTube. That's sort of this main source, and I have links to my Insta and so on there.
And what are those handles?
Yeah, that's my name actually, Robert Baldinger. Maybe that's hard to pronounce, but Bald as bald if you're English,
bald.
And Inger like the name Baldinger. So that's my channel. So that's my main place, but I put my videos there, and on Instagram, which is linked from the YouTube channel, I post a bit, more spontaneous stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much for sitting down with the Adventure Cannonball podcast, and we really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. It was so much fun. Thanks.